Have you ever, when you had, like a, there was a speaker that when it was their turn, to start a presentation, and all they ever did was use filler words. What are you doing when somebody stands up in front of a room and starts with the word and then they continue to scatter those throughout their entire presentation? What are you doing as an audience? Checking out. It's like, I can't keep up with the message because there's all this clutter all throughout the whole thing. Some of you might even start playing a game, don't you? What game do you play? Now, of course, when they're done speaking, you like to walk up to that person and let that person know that they had X number of ums and X number of uhs and X number of you knows. We do that for each other, right? Doesn't happen, does it? What do you do after you walk up and you've seen a speaker? You're either going to hit the door or you'll walk up to him, and what do you typically say to a speaker? Yeah, great job, good job. That's not going to help me get any better. If I don't even know I have filler words, I can't get rid of them. So one of the ways that we get rid of filler words is that we need to be aware. Now, how can we be aware if a total stranger isn't going to walk up to me and let me know that I've got this that was scattered throughout my whole presentation? What do we all have in our pockets that would allow us to know whether or not we've got filler words in our presentations or in our everyday conversations? We got a phone. And that phone's got an audio recorder. That phone has a video recorder. In our workshops, we're going to video you. And yesterday, we were in Houston, Texas, delivering a workshop for an oil and gas company. And we videoed every single participant. We sat in a room and we watched those videos. And everybody's like, oh, I hate to do this. I watched it twice with each of the participants. Once on mute, so we could just watch the body language, all the things Russ was just talking about in terms of how we need to align the body posture, our stance, and our hand gestures, so we could just get a good feel and a good sense of what somebody looked like. Then we turned the volume up, and we were listening for how they delivered something. Those filler words were a part of 11 of the 12 participants. 11 of the 12 had filler words. Of those 11 folks, when I let them know what it was, and we let them know it's an or an and I'll actually tick mark the number, I had no idea. They had no idea that they were using those words, and no idea that their audiences would check out, and no ideas at some point their audiences were playing games. And you might be that person in your office. Nobody's going to tell you. So how do we eliminate our filler words? Audio record yourself, video record yourself, and be aware of it. Number one. Number two, what can you do? Slow down. Most people are talking too fast, and they're not being able to think about what they're saying before they say it, and that's where that filler word comes in. Sometimes it comes in transition. I want to talk to you a little bit about preparation, and then I want to talk to you about developing, and then I want to talk about delivering. What did I use as my transition? A big filler word. What if it sounded like this? Today we're going to talk about how to prepare, we're going to talk about how to develop, and we're going to talk about how to deliver a presentation. Now I replace those filler words with a pause. I'm in control because I slowed down. Now here's what I tell my participants, and I did it with my attendees yesterday. Take the speed you're at and dial it back. And I said, we're going to go all the way to a 3. I don't care how fast you were talking, we're going to dial you all the way back to a 3. Today, we are going to cover how to prepare. And then I say, let's be honest, we're never, ever going to present that slow. But notice there were no filler words because you were in total control of your speed. Then we start to dial it back up to where we are now comfortable with the speed that we're at and we're able to deliver it without those filler words. So be aware, slow down, get comfortable with that silence. Silence is power. Power in our audience. What does a pause do? When I pause in my presentation, what are you doing? Waiting for the next word so it can create some anticipation of what I'm going to say next. What else are you doing? Processing things you've heard. Thinking about, what did he just say? How does it apply to me? You're able to process it. So the double benefit for my audience is it creates anticipation, allows them to process what they've heard, and guess what the benefit is for me? What am I doing? I'm thinking about what I'm going to say next. It gives me time to collect my thoughts. So we want to eliminate those filler words. We can do it by adding pauses. Here's what you might not know about pauses. Pauses are necessary in a presentation. People think, I've got so much to talk about, I just need to keep moving. I can never give them a pause, because if I don't have a pause, they're going to stop listening. If I take a pause somewhere, they're going to prepare. We're going to talk about develop. We're going to talk about purpose. We're going to talk about audience. We're going to be talking about how to say something. We're going to talk about how to structure the Kaaba. And we've got to go through a lot of information in the Kaaba, because there's credibility, and there's tension, there's body, and there's the audience connection. And I got to do Mas, and I got to do all the body points, and I got to make sure I can do everything. They can't never pause through the whole thing, because if they ever do, then they're going to lose all their attention. And at the end, I'm finally done. You got all that, though, right? You don't have to talk nonstop to get your audience's attention. In 1 second, your audience hears you. In 2 seconds, your audience can actually process what you said. And in 3 seconds, your audience starts to feel what you said. Pauses are a requirement in presentations, in conversations, for effect, for your audience to process, for you to think. 1 second here, 2 second process, 3 second feel. Pauses are necessary. Would it be okay to talk fast in a presentation? As long as I follow it with a pause. I can say, this is a really important thing that we're about to talk about. Slam on the brakes, put a pause in there, and then deliver that really important point. And slow all the way down. So pace, how you deliver something in terms of the speed and the pace is important. It's okay to talk fast, just not nonstop. It's okay to talk slow, just not all the time. Russ and I tell people, speak like you write. Speak like you write. What does that mean? Think of a word processing document, whether it was a report or a proposal or an email that you're writing to somebody. Do you do it in all the same font, in all the same paragraph? Do you sometimes put a heading on them? Do you sometimes put paragraph breaks? Do you sometimes bold words? Do you sometimes even indent something and center it and highlight it and italicize it and might even put a shadow box around it? Do you do that? Speak like you write. Use emphasis on words. Punch words to make them really stand out. Punch phrases to really make that phrase stick. Because ultimately we want something to stick with that audience. Because if it doesn't stick, they ain't going to remember it. And if they ain't going to remember it, it was a waste of their time. I don't want to waste your time. I need to make that message stick. You also need to be clear. I've been struggling with this for the last 12 months. I got braces. I'm a 45-year-old man, I got braces. And I had to work on articulation, more so in the last 12 months than anywhere else in my career. How do I do that? I want you to do it right now. You're going to turn to your neighbor and you're going to use my magic phrase. Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch. You're going to turn to your partner right now and you're going to say that way. It wasn't easy, was it? You're like, I could do that. As I said, you're like, I could do that. And then you turn to your neighbor and it's like, I wish wash. When I practice tongue twisters, it works on clarity. It works on articulation. It forces me to slow down. It forces me to think about what I'm saying And let me tie this back to what Russ just said. What was everybody in the room doing when you were done with your tongue twister with your neighbor? You were laughing. It's going to put a smile on my face. So when I practice tongue twisters before I speak, before I get on an important conference call, before I get on an important one-on-one conversation, I'm in the hallway. Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch. Slows me down, makes me think about what I'm saying, and it reminds me to put a smile on my face that will allow me to connect with my audience. Our words allow us to paint pictures with our audience. We want to speak like we write so that our words don't get lost in the clutter of everything that we're saying, but it stands out in those most important points that we make and really sticks with that audience. Thank you.